Anyway, welcome, Saadiqa, to my as yet untitled podcast for BIPOC Mental Health Month, Black, Indigenous, and People of Color, which was started by B.B. Moore Campbell.
Oh, really?
Maya Campbell's mom. She started their, my finger, she started their chapter of NAMI in Inglewood.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so she became very focused on mental health work after, her daughter, Maya Campbell, was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. In fact, I have it on order now. The last book she wrote was called 72-Hour Hold.
Really? I'm familiar with her book.
I can't wait to read it. It's called 72-Hour Hold. And of course, 72-Hour Hold is the longest mental health facility or emergency room or hospital can hold someone against their will if they're having a psychotic break or an episode,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I gotta check it out. Anyway, how are you? How are you doing during this COVID time?
I'm really, really good. Yeah. I know one of your questions, or when you sent me the information about this today, was like, how are people holding up during COVID, and it being such a drastic change where we have to be in isolation. And so for me, my personal experience, I don't know that it was that much of a change for me, because I already put myself in a personal isolation just for spiritual, reflective reasons anyway, and just because maybe I'm tired, so like my busy work day, I just like I don't even want to go out anywhere. So
we should preface it all. Let me just say to everybody who doesn't know, like, so you're an actress, right?
Yeah.
And a writer and a producer, and you're a substitute teacher.
And a substitute teacher. Yes, with LAUSD.
With Los Angeles, Los Angeles Unified School District. You had to think about that for a second. And since this whole COVID thing started, you started a workshop for kids. So you got your hands in a lot of pots.
I also took it as an opportunity more than as what the fuck is happening? Like, I took it more of an opportunity. Like, I think I looked at it in a different way. Like, it's some crazy things going on.
Yeah.
But then how can I use this time? And I think that focus in my mindset has helped me. Because I could be like, oh my God, like we can't, we don't have the freedom. Mm-hmm. I do feel a little about a bit of that, like the freedom.
Right, and a lot of things were different, right? Because you also had a son that graduated.
Yeah, and I did feel that. I did feel like, oh man, like these big moments. I do remember feeling, a little pissed. At times I was pissed more for him.
Yeah, because it felt like he wasn't going to have the same experience.
Yeah, I felt as a parent like, dang, he doesn't get to have his graduation. We don't get to celebrate these momentous occasions. And like my family had planned this whole trip to come out, and that's hard for me. Now that's difficult for me. I've been very blessed to have like amazing friends and support system here in LA, but still is something about not having family nearby. My family is all in Chicago and on the East Coast in New York. I'm saying for me, I'm taking into account, like I said, my perspective, how I chose to look at the situation was, okay, well, what can I do during this time? Yeah. What is God trying to say with this? Or what are we supposed to be doing? How can I utilize this time? Because it is what it is. So I think.
And how's Mossy? How's your son adapted?
He was okay. I think as it's gone on, he's over it. Why? Because he's like, he just came in the other day. He was like, he's starting college. Yeah, he was a little sad. He was like, man, I'm ready to go on the campus and interact with, he's a young adult. He don't want to be stuck in here with me all day.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not, what I'm saying? He's not, it's like, maybe he doesn't want to be stuck in here with me all day as an adult. After a while, because he was kind of excited about his senior year, my son has had autism, and it was, this year just really coming out his shell a whole lot in terms of socially, where he was kind of reserved. So I saw him be kind of, bothered. He's like, man, I didn't get to, I really feel like this year I couldn't, he didn't get the opportunity to experienced his senior year and who
prom and graduation and all of those things.
And how he felt he was becoming, because I felt like he was becoming more comfortable with himself and more social and being a little more outgoing. And I think he felt, I didn't get to have that experience with my peers and show that side of myself. I think I just had the mindset that was mentally healthy for me, was to not go down a hole of like, oh, why is this happening? I think it was just, okay, this is happening. This is what it is. Mm-hmm. And then how can I utilize this time? And how can I, maybe see what this time is trying to show us or teach us? I always try to kind of look at things from that perspective, even with like bad things. Wasn't always that way. So I had to learn to kind of get to that place of like, okay, when this is happening, instead of flipping out, like, okay, what can I receive from this? What can I get? What am I supposed to do before just going down a rabbit hole of frustration or stressing out?
And I can definitely tell that has been healthy for you, because, seeing just even the social media posts that you do, Saadiqa is definitely one of the people who, is very positive and I'm all like, there's a pandemic.
Yeah, you were very much. I'm like, I gotta get off Jillian's page.
I'm like, do you know what's happening? Saadiqa is like, we're going to use this time, and I kind of had to gradually come out of that. So I think the resilience is great. What do you think has contributed to you learning that resilience? I mean, would you put it to past experiences? I know, being a mom, you got to be resilient for sure. Or like, what do you think it is that sort of has brought you to the place that you can handle things the way that you are?
I think multiple things happening to me where I felt like, and I'm sure, when you feel like you're going through something, you feel like you're the only person this is happening to, and it's happening. And God, like, really, like, for real, like, and it feels like it was a point in my life I felt like I was constantly being punched with things like, oh, my God, like, what is going on? What is going on? And it was, like, I'm not even going to lie. Like, some things that were happening, I was just like, what? I mean, I kind of thought, like, I was like, am I a bad person? Like, karmically, what the heck is going on? What am I doing? What am I putting out there that I feel like these things are like punching me like left and right? And I think as I've grown to know is because I would flip out. Like, I would flip out. I would get depressed. I would stress out. I was looking at some past journals. Everything in my journals was like, fuck, just excuse my language on the podcast. But everything was so angry. Everything was me so mad, and why is stuff happening to me, and why can't I get this right, and what am I doing, and God, what are you doing to me? And I think I was like, okay, try a different approach. This approach is not working, and things keep happening. And so what happens when something happens and I try to be in a different state of being? Okay, so what happens, like, so it's happened to me many a times. Money in my bank account, or not being able to pay my rent, or something like that. That's been an occasion many a times, right? And so that situation didn't necessarily change of me not being, maybe it coming up where I didn't have enough, or I couldn't figure out how to pay my rent or pay a bill. What changed was me being like, okay. Yeah. Whereas before, maybe I flipped out.
The quote is like, life is 10% of what happens and 90% of how you respond. So but one thing I think is interesting, what you said is you felt like it was only happening to you. Mm-hmm. And I think that is another impetus, right, for me to sort of just open up a dialogue with some of these podcasts, because I think when people go through things, that is a thing. Like, you think it's only you. Or if you're having some situation with depression or anxiety or any other, emotional or mental stressor, a lot of times, because people don't discuss it, we think it's just, like that's not happening to anybody else. So I appreciate just even that that acknowledgement, and hopefully this goes on to show people like you're not by yourself. Like none of it is it, you know, like this, it's not just you. Like so many people have these experiences. You don't have to feel alone or like you are bad or
bad person.
Something to invite this on yourself.
Yes, that's how I felt. I felt like my deeper knowing felt like I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to be right in this world. I'm trying my best. I'm not perfect. I know mistakes I make, but I was like I'm not a criminal. I'm not, even as a mom, I don't go out and kick it. I'm not taking money and doing, I'm trying to do the best that I can. And for me to have experienced some of the things I have went through, I'm just like, dang, why is this happening to me? And so it made me think at times I was a bad mom. I wasn't making right decisions. I'm not responsible financially.
And then now with social media, like, because nobody's flossing about, you know, how I might
bad time.
Yeah, like I might have to move. Look at all these boxes because I couldn't pay my rent.
But I got evicted. Now, actually, because I did go through that experience. Okay, so I did go through the experience of.
But it wasn't a Facebook check us out kind of thing.
And I said I was going to keep. I couldn't find it. I said I'm going to keep this. The notice of my eviction, I wanted to keep it and post it. To show people, and for some reason I couldn't find it, but that was a horrible moment in my life.
Sure.
And during that time, I don't even know if people knew that I was being evicted, outside of maybe you, but I don't think people knew because I was still, this was the time we were doing Moms. And in that whole process of me
Moms
doing
a web series that she wrote and directed.
Series I was doing,
which I will put a link below. since it came up.
Yeah, we were at the Pan-African Film Festival. I was on the red carpet, smiling, cheesing. I was doing interviews.
As Charles Dickens said, it is often the best of times and the worst of times.
And going to meetings. We were meeting with people about, you know, turning the series into a television show. All these things, and while these things were good, you know, I'm taking the hit because I'm like, I'm taking this hit because I'm having a meeting for television. This is going to turn around. I know that this is going to work
real
out.
Life actor life right here.
Right.
Real life actor life.
So I was, you know, willing, you know, to take that hit, but it's nothing like, honey, having to empty out your child. I'm almost about to cry, like empty out your child. He had a big bedroom and a big space and have to pack that up and your place, throw stuff away. Your kid is like, what's going on? And we had to stay for a couple weeks in the shadiest
I remember, girl.
hotel. I was petrified. I'm like, it's like.
And I remember that time, and I listen, you know, we all like, you know these times. But I remember it's like you get in such survival mode. I don't even know if you know, like I was talking to your sister, and it's like people are like, well, how did you do this? It's like, I don't think you're thinking about what you're doing at the time. Because I remember talking to you during that time, and I was like, I don't think she's fully absorbing.
No, you can't.
What's happening. Yeah.
No, I think that's important to discuss too, especially as Black women, especially as being a mom. And we'll probably talk about this later about seeking help for yourself or somebody to talk to. I think we're in such the mind state of, hey, look, I don't have time. I got to get this done. I got to get through this.
And I can't because now I'm gonna say because. I'm upset. Sorry. No, now you've upset me. But it's almost like you can't have a moment to think about that because you can't break. Because if you break, then what, right? Because you are all these children or a child in your case have to fall back on. So you can't break. So unfortunately, I think even giving yourself the grace that you need to see like, how am I feeling? Where is the space?
I didn't have any time to check in with how I was feeling, because all I could feel, when these things were happening, me getting addicted, me running out of money, I remember me and my son taking all his stuff. I didn't even have anywhere to throw it away. We were just such in a transition. I just remember me and him by the side of a road. Oh God, girl, by the side of a road, just like dumping stuff. And I'm like, I don't know if this is legal. We just have to leave our stuff here, and we just take what we can so we can move. And one time in my car, because like I would have to travel and I didn't have anywhere to stay, so my car would be packed up, and I really would, and I would have to pull over at the side. If I was like picking up my son, we had all the stuff in the car, and it would be so hot, and I had to take a nap or sleep in the car and be burning up and sweating, and just like.
Is this during the motel time?
This was it was a motel time, because I remember somebody gave us, we had to go to the.
I remember that. You were down the street.
DHS office, and they gave you a certain amount. Like if you were going, it was an emergency, they gave you a certain amount to
right.
stay in a hotel, but you only had like 2 weeks or something like that. And then, but it was like weeks, I don't know, probably bouncing around from people's houses and stuff like that. But that I just remember just parking in a parking lot near my son's school or something like that, and I was so tired, and I would have to sleep, and I would have all the stuff in my car, and being there.
And I think living in LA, we know a lot of people who have been, home, like sleeping in the car is a very common story in LA.
Yeah.
Having children doing it is harder. And also the story sounds better when you tell it on late night with back with Conan or somebody. Like, it sounds better in retrospect,
right,
after everything has worked out wonderfully.
That's something, because I was like, when is this gonna work? When is this story? When is this gonna be on date? Like, I'm sitting on the couch, talking to someone. When is this? And it seemed like that wasn't even happening. Like, okay, I'm going through this. I think I even told myself I'm going through this because something big and major is going to happen. And it nothing. I don't want to say nothing big or major happened, because that's all in perspective.
Yeah, no,
but
I know what you're saying though.
But by the definition of like making it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's part of resilience too. Maybe I remember when just stuff would just be popping off with the kids, you know what I mean? And like, you're trying to work and follow your dream and dealing with children, and you're like, okay, all right, so I'm sure that this is how we always want to find a reason.
Yeah,
right?
the reason.
And even
justify the hell.
And I think maybe that's why people are freaking out about COVID, because they can't find the reason. So the reason has got to be something, right? It's got to either be the Illuminati, or it's got to be China, or it's got to be, if you're religious, God's wrath. Like, everybody is trying to find an angle to wrap their brain around. to wrap their brain around. I talk with my hands. Right. Me, the reason my finger's like this is because I started making masks. Because I was like, I know, I would just make masks for everyone. Maybe everyone in the whole world.
Do something.
And everybody will be masked, and then COVID will be stopped, and we will all go back. So I cut my finger almost in half with a pair of scissors, because we all are coping and making sense of things.
And trying to make sense of it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I think it was one point I'm like, this don't make any sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't. What do you do? What do you do when the shit in life, it don't make sense? It doesn't. It's happening. It's happening to you. And it doesn't make, in your mind, a bit of sense. Probably to the human mind, it's not going to make sense.
And the randomness of it, and how it's not fair.
Of things.
It's
and when you feel especially, I'm trying to word this right, not the worst, but when you feel like I'm trying to do right. A lot of people, like, I had good things going on before COVID. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
But just
Why
starting
would this
business, I
happen
see it
right
all
now?
around me. New businesses that just started.
Right. I had a couple of friends like that, like they just started. Or
I had just finished a film, just starting to put it in festivals. That's a wrap. It's like, okay, well, that was a really bad time for me to spend all that money making a film, even though it was on mental health, and so it did kind of spur me down the mental health path, which I think is important. It's like, had I known 3 months later that cash I spent,
well, a lot of people felt like that. A lot of people. I know a lot of people start business. I think I read online about one guy. He had started a business. He got a second level to like a place, and he had to end up. He's like, I got to just chalk this up, basically, and so, but a lot of that happens in life, right? Where it's like, oh, it just seemed like, hey, I'm about, and then something wacky can happen and hit you where you feel like, what the hell? And you feel like, did I do something? I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but I always took it so personal, like, what karma, what did I do for this to happen to me? And
I took the angry route. I was like, I know, because, I'm religious, grew up religious, and I was like, I understand that God can do anything he wants. So he must not want, like, I would almost get, like, angry, which, like, of course, is sacrilegious.
Like, why would you put me through? You must not want me to succeed. Why would you want me to? I totally get it, because I went through all that in my mind, too. Like, now, God is out here blessing people. Why? What's
and
up?
really, you know what? And that's anger, like your sister so aptly said, that anger is a secondary emotion. And so what it is like disappointment or sadness or fear. And you don't want to deal with that part of it. So then the anger comes, right? And that's a little bit easier to express, especially when you're used to having to be strong and keep it all together because you are the matriarch of your family. So, it's kind of easier to protect yourself with that kind of shield and, like, really
do we,
allow yourself
as
to
Black women, show our anger outward? Like, I would feel as a mom and as a woman and even as a teacher, like, I could still go on and give you my happy face.
Yeah.
But inside, and then the anger wasn't out towards anybody there. It was like angry at me. Like, why am I angry with myself when other people could come in and tell me stop? Like, people stop me all the time. And Saadiqa, I'm so amazed. Like, you raised a college grad. You came out here to Hollywood. Like, I remember a girl pulled me to the side. She was an actress, and she was like this is not easy, and you're doing this with a kid. And everybody was just so amazed. Like, how are you doing this? And this and that. And then I'm angry with myself because I feel like I'm not doing enough. I have to be doing something wrong because stuff is not working, or
it is so much pressure we put on ourselves. And, and that is also why I think even at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, I'm going to do nothing until I feel like doing something. And that's okay. Because I do think that there's a lot of pressure, people who are whatever, perfectionists or artistic or whatever, where we are like, what can, and just, it's very American, right? Like, we need to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and keep moving. As opposed to, like, allowing how you feel. Now, I have the more luxury to do that now because my kids are out of the house.
Right.
Like, people who, man, if I still had twins in the house, like, you might see me swinging from somewhere. You might be like, I might just be up a tree just sitting down, like, no, not coming down until this whole thing is over, because that's a lot of pressure.
I do take
that's a lot of pressure.
Like I said, and also, during this time, I have to admit, like, I was blessed. I was still able to work and teach online. I was still able to, have some income coming in. And like you said, your kids are out the house, and mine is pretty self-sufficient. Like, I don't have to cook for him, really. I don't have to, he's able to do things on his own.
Right.
And I realized that's not everybody's situation. And also, a girlfriend brought up to me, because she was kind of, I was like, well, how do you feel? She was like, I'm a little lonely. And I felt bad because I was like, girl, I don't feel the loneliness. She was like, Saadiqa, you have a son. Like, you still have somebody kind of occupying your space, or that you're interacting with, or that even though he's 18, he's not out my house. Like it's still,
Right.
I'm thinking about him, or we still have to,
well, you're working together daily.
Yeah, like we're you know, I still have a person to focus on, you know what I'm saying, outside of myself. Whereas
and it is, as a person who had that, and like now I don't necessarily, for different reasons for each kid, but you know, it is a different thing altogether. I had kids so young, even understanding. I mean, I don't mind it either, because I think I had kids forever, and so
right.
like the quietness of a house does not bother me in the
But you've always kind of been that way too. Like you're not a big going out. That's not you.
Ever since they left, I just was like, you know, so, but I did like to go one or two places. I'm like, COVID has cut everything out. I was like, I was a homebody, but there was one or two places I kind of would like to go every now and then. It's like, damn. Like,
right.
And then the Black Lives Matter protests, right? And then being home and seeing murder on a regular basis.
Well, here's what I want to, personally for me, because I felt it. Because I felt when that started happening.
The protests, you mean?
The protests, more George Floyd, all these things started happening. So me, I started purposefully, and I still do this. I'm like, okay, Saadi, get off social media, get off the news. And I know some people like yourself, like people like.
Well, some things I don't watch. I have never seen the George Floyd thing. I've never watched.
Oh, no. I don't watch none. Don't. I've told friends, please don't send me any of.
Sometimes I'll see a bit on the news and it just.
Yeah, I can't ingest that. Like I just can't do it. But because this was happening, you couldn't kind of ignore, what's going on. I did start to feel, it was about 2 weeks, I'm like crying. I'm very emotional. I'm angry. I'm a little short. Because I was like, I was telling my friends in the group chat, I was like, I'm crying. I'm so emotional. I don't know what this is. But I know from being in therapy, we as a people have a lot of residue. We have a lot of residue and we have still had to function as a people.
Yeah.
And we still have to be strong. We have to go out and be resilient. We have to go out and this and this and that. But when you don't deal with I know from being in therapy, because I recently was actually in therapy before COVID happened. I went to a session, and the therapist started asking me some questions about my childhood. And for me, I feel like I'm good. I know some things that have happened to me in my childhood and between me and my mom, and I'm good. My mom has passed away. I've made peace, right? I'm good. I don't feel any anger. I don't feel on an everyday life. Like I don't feel any anger. I feel peaceful. Me and my mom, before she passed, we had our words and things like that. But this therapist still wanted to dig into that. And I remember feeling uncomfortable. Like I was trying to talk about other things. And she was like, that's interesting. Like she was still doing this. And I felt myself getting mad.
Yeah.
I didn't still want to go there. You know what I'm saying? I didn't still want to, I'm like, why we got to talk about this? Like, I'm cool. Like, lady, what you doing?
What part of, this is fine. Like,
right.
Do you not understand? It's like, she's looking like.
With her, I'm like, because she as a therapist still knows. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, of course.
So when people say, Black people, y'all good. Like, y'all, we're free. We're able to, interact. We can, look at Will Smith and look at Oprah and all these, you know what I'm saying? We're good. And we might even feel that, like,
It's amazing how we feel that. Like, I would be like, okay, I protest, do stuff, whatever. It's fine. And I, it's like you get so used to compartmentalizing.
Right.
And I never did watch the George Floyd thing, but like if it came on and I just heard how he asked for his, I might just be walking through the house and I could hear it. And all of a sudden, I'm like fighting back tears.
Yes.
Just like that.
And that's what I mean. So like, I feel fine. In my mind, it's like, okay, so I think in my mind, I'm like, so what can we do? Like, I try to keep myself on this track of like, okay, well, what can I do as an African-American woman? What am I supposed to be doing, right? I think we feel that as a mom. What can I do for my kid? What can I do for, you don't want to.
How do I fix it, right?
How do I fix it?
The Black woman thing is let me tell you something. The first time I encountered real significant mental illness, I was like, okay, I will research this and I will figure out what exactly we need to do and what programs there are, and we will go fix it. Because that's what you think that you are going to do. Or, when another loved one had cancer, it's like, okay, no worries. We're going to Google the treatments, and we're going to find the best place, and we're going to go and we're going to fix it.
And so, then what we don't realize, we think it's something tangible that you can put together, and we don't realize that part of that fixing is that you have to dig in. Like my therapist, when she wanted part of the fixing, because I was like, something's not working. I kept telling her, I was like, I feel fine. I feel like everything is fine. I was like, it's just for some reason, some things are not working in my life, and that's what I wanted to talk to her about. And then that's when she was going back to me and my mom's stuff. And I was like, no, like, what you talking about? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And so let me just say this too. Like, I've been to therapy, and California, that's not that uncommon.
No.
And other cities, that's not that uncommon. But our community doesn't always look super welcoming to therapy. So
do you think that now, though? Do you think
I do, yes. I do.
You still think that?
Suggest somebody goes to therapy. They'll be like, I got this.
Maybe it's because we're in California then. And maybe it's different for me, because like my sister is a therapist and my dad was in psychology and things like that. And
right.
So maybe I'm like, really, people don't? You know what I'm saying? So
I feel like I've even heard it used almost as a threat. If you don't stop doing that, you're gonna have to go talk to somebody.
Put you in a.
I'm gonna take you to that man. It's like, I don't think this is how this is supposed to be used. So your background, you're saying do you ever feel like you had a stigma about therapy or anything, or do you feel like
I don't feel like I had a stigma, but I'll be honest, I felt like I don't have time for this. Not a stigma like it was like a thing.
It wasn't super valuable. You didn't feel like it was a.
It's not that. It's just I just felt like I just don't have. Okay, so I felt a couple things. I felt like, in the busyness of my schedule, sometimes I'm like, I don't have time. I don't have time. We just need, what is it? I need to fix it. Like you said, I need to, like, what is it? Come on. And
trying to let go of the idea of fixing it, which I do think is important, and I have not clearly figured that out yet as I'm trying to save the world with my sewing machine.
Right. I think, I don't know, there was a stigma for me. I never felt like if somebody suggested to me, like, you're great, like, I'm not doing that. I never felt that. I just felt like, Saadiqa, I want to get over this so I can get on with my life. Like, so what's the thing? Like, if you tell me that I have a cut, can we put the Band-Aid on, and can I keep it moving? That's just me or my personality. Like, I don't want to drag this out.
So were you older when you went to therapy? Like, why do you think you didn't go until you did if you never had a stigma?
I've been to therapy multiple times.
So not just when you got.
A lot of times.
Not just when you got.
The first time is the very first time is, I think that I can remember, maybe it was in college. My emotions have always been heightened, hence probably why I'm an actress.
My Leo.
I
told your sister about my Leo friends who I love.
Quite heightened, and I always felt like there's something wrong with me, because I feel like my emotions and how I've always taken in feelings and people and things like that have just always been quite heightened as compared to my other friends, or even like my sister who's more practical and this and that, or like, what's going on? What are you doing? Why are you so like all over the place?
Yeah.
So I think the first time I can remember just wanting to go and talk to somebody was in college. It probably was over some boy or something like that.
Which is amazing. I mean, that was a while ago, before it became more in vogue, or more, because I do think it is far more acceptable now.
Yeah.
Before.
I do remember taking myself maybe to the student health center counseling to go talk with someone, because I would personally go to such an extreme. I'm
Yeah.
I don't want to be ashamed to say this. I would go to such an extreme with my emotions of like, I want to take myself off the planet. You know what I'm saying? So my emotions would be that extreme, which I knew wasn't right.
I mean, off the planet, like, because you're flying so high, or
no, I wanted to.
Like some suicidal ideation.
So I would be like,
because the feelings were so out of control.
The feelings were so much.
Uh-huh.
And I remember feeling that young. The feelings are so much. Why do I feel this so, like, if it's a pain, like I feel this so much that I feel like at times I'm like, it shouldn't be right to be thinking this. I knew that wasn't right to want to have that reaction to something. I don't think that I really wanted to do it, but I like to have that reaction within myself.
Like to find some sort of maybe peace or something.
Wasn't I probably at that time I was like, I'm not normal. Like, why do I feel this reaction to things? Like, just, you know what? Okay. You know,
right.
So I remember like wanting to talk to somebody through that because I felt like I had so many friends who were so cool and they just seemed so
and you know and what people see like isn't even what they always are, which is kind of, I think, a good point too. You know, like people react to things so differently that people can have those same emotions and just bottle them, and you feel like, oh, they're cool. Is something wrong with me? Because, you know, we don't know what each other, what is actually going on inside of anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, so even maybe getting that perspective, because I think I had a lot of emotions, but my emotions were tight. Like, you know what I mean? Like I would hold them so tight because I was like, if I let these out, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be huge.
Like, I could let mine out and I could get very severely depressed. Like, I could stay in my bed. I remember that in college. I could stay in my bed for days. And then I'm thinking, you know, I'm watching friends be busy and into school. And I'm like, why am I so sleepy and tired and just feeling out of it? But
was your therapist helpful?
Student, like, so it was I could still get my grades and I could still be Saadiqa at times, so nobody would probably think nothing of it.
Right. And you know what? And college is such a time where that happens. I think college is a time where a lot of that happens for the first time. You know, if, you know, whenever you, a lot of times if you're going to be on any sort of, you know, sort of spectrum for any kind of mental health stuff, it will happen in college. You're leaving home, you're around new people, you know, your brain is changing and forming, going from the adolescence to adulthood. So many things happen at that time. It's amazing. And maybe it's just a testament to your you know, how your father was a therapist, that you knew to reach out to someone. In terms of conversations growing up, like, was mental health talked about a whole lot in your family? Like, did you?
No. So I will share the other thing that I don't remember being talked about a lot. I just knew that's what my dad did. You know, he taught. He has his PhD in psychology and sociology and those social sciences. So I just knew that's what was done. But I also watched my mom be very depressed. And I remember as a young child, like, thinking, why doesn't my mom go get help? Right?
Yeah.
I could walk in the room and my mom for days, or she could be, you know, she was tired. She just couldn't be bothered, or things like that. Or my mom's emotions could be very up and down, where I was like, she could be the life of the party.
Yeah.
You know, she was, everybody, my friends come over, people love my mom. And then it could be a little bit of a switch. And in my mind, being her daughter, I thought, I need my mom to go. Because I loved my mom. My mom was like, to me, like this amazing, you know, she was an artist. She was this amazing woman. Hindsight 2020, I'm realizing, like, she was 20-something with 3 kids back to back.
Yeah.
All
That's what my son said. My son said, Mom, I just don't understand how you, she's like, he was like, when you were my age, you had taught, like, I don't even know how old when I was his age, I probably had 7-year-olds or something.
Right. So
in a whole city where I didn't have anybody. Yeah. So it's like,
me being an adult now, I think as a kid, you think, oh, that's what it is. But me being an adult, and I'm like, my mom had 3 of us in her. She was a stay-at-home mom, three of us in the house. We're stair steps, like all kind of 2 years apart.
Yeah.
And she was, three of us by the time she was like 23.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. It's enough to drive anybody crazy. I can tell you from first. If I had one more, ooh, I don't know if I'd have made it through
but
that
as
journey.
a kid, you don't think that. You're like your peer. And then we probably thought like 20 and 30 was like, oh, you
the
know.
oldest thing in the, of course you did. Of course.
I thought that was adult. You being, I was like, in my 20s, if I had 3 kids, somebody needed to pray for those kids. Like, I couldn't even imagine, you know what I'm saying?
Because you know what, the stuff you say is familiar. I mean, I couldn't stay in the bed for days, but I could stay in for when I got home until I had to go back to work or school or whatever I was doing the next day. And, you know, I think there was definitely those periods. It is exhausting.
Yeah. So yeah, I would think for my mom probably that. I don't know everything because it's not like she's coming sitting down talking to her toddlers about her emotions, you know, right?
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is what I just saw, and so I saw my mom be sad a lot. I saw my mom be depressed and under the blankets. I saw my mom go from she could be to sometimes she could be a little mean, and with me. So I saw all those things, and like I said, I remember thinking like, my mom needs some help. Like she needs, you know. And I never took anything my mom did or whatever. Like I took it. I think my mom told me that she was like, you took it very compassionately. She was like, man, she's like, I just admire you as the kid you were because I never took it like I hate my mom. Why is she? I took it like, man, my mom needs something. Something's going on. Like, I always took it from that perspective and not like my mom, you know, poor me or anything like that.
And I know then your mom, how old were you when your mama passed away?
She was about 3 years old, so maybe I was like 28.
Oh, I didn't realize you were.
Yeah, I was 28. He was maybe like 3 years old. And then she passed away, and that was a whole nother thing. Because then I had to deal with the emotions of my relationship with my mom because it was where I wasn't angry with my mom, I didn't feel close to her. So things like her hugging me or doing things, I could feel very uncomfortable. Right?
When she would hug you, you mean?
Yeah, when she would try to hug or kiss me, I could feel distant. I could feel not totally connected to her.
That must have been hard. So you have a 3-year-old, you know what I mean? Which is so, you know, a whole new life change, which, you know, generally, I know my mother and grandmother were everything in helping me through the first couple of years, you know, at least through undergrad, helping me with the kids. So I can only imagine, you know.
No, and my mother couldn't help me because even though he was like 3, during probably a couple of years, she wasn't. I remember her not feeling well. We didn't know what it was yet, but like her back, she was kind of incapacitated. Like she was going through all this stuff, and we just didn't know what it was. So she was going through this for like 2 years until we finally found out that it was, you know, it was cancer and things like that. So she was very uncomfortable for like a period of time, even when he was born. Like she wouldn't be able to move or do things. And then, yeah, you know, kind of a couple things going on because she couldn't help me. And then my sister and brother are away. They're in college. I'm the only one there now. My dad kind of has to, I'm working and things, but it's like me and my dad shifting in and out to go to hospital and take care of her. And we get the news. I feel like I was in a play. And they called me, I remember, after a rehearsal saying, you need to come to the hospital. I had to go to the hospital, and a nurse took me out to the side and said, we thought my mom went in there for something else, and she comes out and says, we have to let you know your mom has like 15 masses on her liver. And I'm like, what does that mean? What you talking about? What's going on? And she was like, you know, she has cancer and it's 15 masses. And I'm still young, so I'm still I'm like, well, what does that mean? And my dad wasn't there yet, so I'm in a hallway dealing with this by myself, and the nurse is trying to and we get that diagnosis, and I think that was like March, because I was in some some play. And then everything happened so fast. And then October, she passed away. Mm-hmm. So, and in that time, because of our relationship and things, I'm there. I'm, you know, the daughter that's there, and we're talking, and we're you know, getting through our thing, and this, and I have my son, and I'm still raising him, and that's fresh and new, and I'm going through things with his dad and all this other stuff.
And your son had, you know, that time was
my
autistic?
Son we were trying to figure out what's going on with my son, because you
didn't know he was autistic then?
No. I just knew something was going on because me and all my friends it was like 4 of us were all pregnant at the same time, and I'm watching their children like walking and talking and doing, and my son wasn't doing this. So I had a lot going on. I had a lot going on. And then my mom passes. She passes, and I know for me, like, even I remember my friends at the funeral, when we had to go to the cemetery and things like that. I was like, I can't even do this funeral. I can't do any of this. Like, we have to show up to our parents' funeral, because I can't. Guess what? I can't do it. You know, I remember coming out the, you know, in our religion, I grew up Muslim and practiced Islam, and there's a certain way when somebody passes. If 3 days, they're wrapped a certain way, their body is prepared a certain way. It's really, really beautiful. But I was the first one for some reason at this funeral home, and the sisters wanted to take me in the back, and I was like, yeah, back to see my mom. And then they were like, come back, but they wrapped her so beautifully. She looked like an angel, and I think that kind of helped me, because she was wrapped, and it looked like my mom was smiling, and I was like, okay. And then I get through the funeral part of it, and then you have to go to the cemetery and watch them lower and that. And I remember my friend had to come. I was like, I can't do this. I can't. And then after all of that, Saadiqa has a weird, maybe not weird, maybe people react this way. Girl, I started drinking. I was never no big, like, drinker or whatever, partying. I didn't go, you couldn't find Saadiqa nobody. I was drinking, partying, just being a little loosey-goosey, and I just having this reaction, I guess, to what was going on in my life, that was probably not the most healthiest response, but it was what it was. I remember a time where, I don't know what day it was. I don't even remember what the situation specifically was, but I was crying and I could not stop. I think my son's father had to call my sister. Like, I was just, he was scared, because it was little, maybe madness. Like, I was just crying. I was just through the house crying. And my sister had to come over, and she had to get me, and I was breathing, and it was some type of episode. I can't remember.
Hyperventilating, you mean? Like hyperventilating?
Yeah, it was just some type of episode or something I was having. And I can't remember everything, but I do remember my sister coming over and saying, I think she told my ex at the time, yeah, I'm going to have to take her. She was going to have to take me to a facility. She was like, we're not playing these games. Luckily, my sister, being a therapist, she was like, yeah, no, we're going to,
And how did you take that? I mean, were you open to it, or?
I think I was so, crying. I probably didn't even realize what was exactly happening, that this was a decision that was made, with my family.
Like, you didn't really know where you, exactly where you were going, what was happening.
I didn't know until they actually took me to the place, girl. And what you see in movies?
Look, you already know, I know.
Girl, I was like, they took me to this wasn't a hospital, to the emergency room. This was the facility. Okay, so this was the real place that the people go. So that's why I can't remember. I was like, I must have been acting some type of way because my sister was like.
She must, and you know what, because your sister's a therapist, she must have known exactly what to do. Like, I think most people, like I took my loved one to the hospital first. Because nobody knew, you know, like I talked to your sister, she was like, I know what I'm looking at. You know what I mean? And most people don't know what they're looking at. You know,
because if it was something that was just happening, my friend, I'd be like, girl, come, I might offer you a drink. Girl, come on, let's go out.
Right. Yeah, no, I totally know what you're saying.
Your friend is going to be like, girl, forget him.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or
and it's so serious. The real place is serious. You know, because we started out when I went, I didn't know what it was, right? So we went to the emergency room, and I told your sister, I was like, because you know she told me she worked as a person in the ER, assess emergency mental health assessment, or I'm not sure what they're called, but I remember the woman asking, you know, questions as you know, and I remember she's like, are you hearing voices? And I remember thinking, that's a crazy question to ask. And then the lady looked at me and was like, they're hearing voices. And I still thought this woman was crazy for even saying that. And so they kept her, which I was happy about, because I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what it was. But after you're in the ER, you go from the ER to the real place.
I don't even think I went to the ER. I don't remember.
Yeah, your sister knew a better. Your sister had a better. Your sister knew.
I don't remember the ER being a thought. I remember going straight.
That ER was rough too, because there was restraints involved, and
yeah, because I remember them putting me in a chair, taking off your shoes. They like get her shoelaces, like the people. What you see? I guess what you see in the movies, the white coat men coming, and I'm sitting in the chair, and the ladies like. They're talking to you kind of a certain way. It's just.
Did you know where you were then? Did you start to understand what was happening?
Yeah, I started to understand.
You're like, yeah.
I started to understand. Mad. I was scared.
Yeah,
because you see the other patients, honey.
You know, okay. So when I was there, they were asking, you know, I'll just say my friend to take out the. There was a hoodie.
You had to take out the string.
And I was like, you know. Because now I'm starting to have second thoughts, you know, because I'm like, this is extreme.
And they tell you, I guess with the 72, I remember them telling my dad.
Give me 72 hours. Yeah.
I have to stay there for whatever time, so maybe it was 72. Probably. And I don't know if people could visit me. I can't remember. I don't remember anybody visiting me. I was a little far gone, but I don't remember, because I remember.
You might have been drugged.
Yeah. So I can't remember.
Because we're like in Northridge, that hospital, there was 1 hour twice a day. And that's actually, you know, that's part of like where my film came from that I made, because I always thought about like everybody being in the elevator, because everybody had to leave at the exact same time. So everybody was on the elevator. And it was black and white and Latino and old and young. And we're all in the elevator with just the same shell-shocked. We don't know. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure your family felt helpless. Well, maybe not your mother and your daddy, because they are more mental health professionals. But there's a shell shock of like.
That's interesting. No, I do remember my dad's face, because I remember feeling like I was scared, and I remember feeling like, Dad, don't leave me here. You know, I remember feeling like, not mad at them, but I was so scared, because I was like, you kind of feel like, oh my goodness, you kind of feel like something's wrong with me. You feel, I want to be careful with the words I use. So I don't mean this in a way that's disrespectful to anybody or anything like that, but you feel like you're going crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And so I felt that, but then I feel like when I go to this place, I'm not like them. You know what I'm saying? Not to, and I don't want to label them as, but I'm seeing how the other people are acting. I'm seeing a person with the bipolar and screaming and all. I'm seeing all this, and I'm like,
yeah,
and don't leave me here.
And I know your daddy was probably thinking, because like I said, once they were taking the strengths, I remember thinking, okay, wait, yes, things are bad, but I'm not sure we need to do, like, do we need to take all the strings? Because, you know, the person I took there didn't seem like they were going to hurt themselves. But then the other people, you know, that you see walking around who are in more advanced stages of their illness.
I like, okay.
I know I'm trying to use my words carefully too. But like when I saw some of the people in the more advanced stages, I became very fearful, and I was like, take all the strings. Because I didn't think the person I took was going to do something, but then I became very concerned. Like you said, when you start, like, or you're hearing a bunch of screaming.
Yeah, you're hearing
it all
screaming.
Gets very real.
You're hearing banging on people from people's rooms. You're hearing, so I'm sitting hearing all this.
There's a little old lady who kept coming up every 3 minutes asking for like makeup, and you know, because she just maybe had more of a dementia. And then you have another person it was so real.
It was so real. So real. I was like, I don't even think I haven't, you know, that's the part I haven't shared. I was like, I've been to the real place.
And you can't explain the real place to nobody.
Huh?
You can't explain the real place to anybody. Like, nobody's going to understand what you're talking about. Nobody. There's no words you can use because you don't want to stigmatize what's happening.
Or like, Saadiqa, you know what I'm saying? It's not something I shared. Just, I guess my family knows, you know what I'm saying? It's not.
But as I started sharing, so many people like you were like, well, you know. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that is what made me really think to do the podcast, because so many people, Saadiqa, had a story about either a loved one or themselves. And let me just commend you so much, because so many people are not willing to share their story. So many very woke, conscious, California, New York, whatever, you know, find a reason that they won't share. And they come up with a lot of different reasons, but I do think on some level it just goes down to stigma or shame or something.
Well, I think it's also, this is like, after I share this, what are people gonna, you know what I'm saying? I think people think like, well, what will people, I don't think it's them thinking like, I think, you know, what people think, and that's part of what we have to break, and part of the stress we put on ourselves is like what people think about us.
Right. And regardless, I mean, like, your case is amazing. Like, your case clearly was like brought on by all this extra stuff, right? And then, and you can, I want to hear the rest of that story. But, you know, now you've gone on to like start a organization in your mom's name and things. But then there's some people who do have more persistent illnesses.
Yeah.
And they have that same stigma. They have that same stigma that shouldn't be theirs to bear.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think I could probably be looked at differently, because I will say, and even like my doctors, you know, when I was there and stuff, they did, you know, I had to be on this prescription medicine, and they told me when I exited that part of the thing was I had to stay on it and all this other stuff. But I remember, and I did have to, while I was there, go to these groups and participate in all these different things.
So you were there for the 72 hours? Is that what you did?
Yeah, I was there for days.
Mm-hmm.
But I also remember that whatever drug, something they gave me, it made me sleep. It made me sleep for a long time.
And you hadn't been sleeping before?
And I hadn't been sleeping. And when I was just able to sleep, I was a mom. I was a single mom, not in the best relationship. My mom just passed, still had to get up and go. I got a young toddler. So whatever drug whatever they gave me, I can't remember. I appreciated it because I got to sleep. Yeah. I got to rest and calm myself. And it almost, where I was in a room by myself, and I needed that. And I think I remember the doctor, you need some rest. You need some help, but you need to rest.
Yeah.
With like a lot with the medication and things, they did make me stay on that and this and this and that. And I remember in my mind, I didn't say I was going to get off the medication, but I was like, I don't want this to be all the time. So what healthy things can I do along with my medication? I didn't take myself off of it, but what other things can I do along with this so I can maybe not?
Yeah, I mean, and I just think your situation is so just, I don't know if you know, that is I don't even know, so blessed. I think even having that mindset may be because of how you were raised, and people didn't look at it in some way, and so you didn't have just an adverse view to all of these things.
No, like my family, like I said, because my sister was the one who sent me, so I didn't have any family members like, ugh, what's
Right.
her? Or my dad is in the social science. He has his PhD in psychology, so nobody was looking at me. Like,
They just looked at it as it is, as a problem, a medical issue that they need to solve. You know what I'm saying?
No, my sister wasn't playing, honey. When it comes to things, even if I had to call her for some situation, she can't be my therapist, of course, because she's my sister, so she can never be my therapist. But my sister don't like. She's like, it is a blessing, because if I have to talk, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling this, something, this and this and that. Then she's able to, in her, as a sister, she's able to talk to me. And then as a sister who does what she does, she's able, and this is my younger sister too, so it's always very important. Right. And I think the blessing is that she does what she does. So I never feel, but nobody.
Because she also knows how to handle it, unlike
she
maybe.
also knows how to handle it.
Because other families who don't know how to handle it,
well,
right?
Like,
I certainly didn't know how to handle it. And so you are just like flailing, like trying to, and then you fight, and half your family that don't even believe it exists. Like, oh, ain't nothing wrong with, ain't nothing wrong with whoever. They just need to stop hanging around them friends. Or, ain't nothing wrong. Like, it's all like, so you're fighting like all these battles as opposed to just accepting whatever is and then doing whatever it takes to get the best outcome.
Because I'll use this example. And this is what I had to realize for myself, even talking with myself, even later on, because I've had, like I said, I just recently before COVID, I had, because I was, nothing bad was happening. It was because I'm like, I feel fine. I just don't feel like things in my life are thriving. Something still is off, and I wanted to talk. It wasn't nothing bad.
Right.
And I feel like
when I was a therapist, the lady was like, she was like, a lot of people will never come to therapy. She's like, but you don't have to white knuckle it. I remember the lady said, she's like, you don't have to white knuckle it and just push through. Like, you can get the support you need to have your best outcome. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
to live your best life.
I felt like I was like, I don't feel like I'm living my best, highest life for me.
Right.
I feel like things are okay. Nothing's bad. Nothing. And I feel more. I'll get up. I meditate. I do my Abraham Hicks. I do my, my meditation music. I'm lighting my incense in my house, and I'm doing certain practices and things like that. For me, I was like, this time I'm going back. It's like, I feel like for what I'm doing, something in my life is not matching with the effort that I feel like I'm putting in. As an actress, we can write. So I feel like, man, I'm putting in mad effort. I don't feel like the results.
And it's interesting because, and it was a controversial thing that came out not too long ago. I'm hitting this mic. I want to just come in some African American museum, and somebody posted it, and it was sort of like, it said something about the traits of not white supremacy, but just sort of these traits that we've learned from living under our current power structure, right? Mm-hmm. And I think part of it was something like cause and effect. If you work hard, this should happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know that exists in our more ancestral, like if you go back to our actual roots. I mean, if you go back to slavery, your great-great-great-grandfather who was a slave, I mean, I don't know if they had just done everything right, if they expected everything to just work out for them, So I even think that idea, while I see how it's helpful because it helps you to stay motivated and going forward, I can also see how it could be detrimental in a way, because then you really put the blame on yourself.
For a result, right?
Yeah, and blaming yourself when you don't get the result.
When you don't get the result, being mad at God or whoever if you don't get the result.
It's why I really turned against like that whole prosperity gospel preaching. I was like, I don't think this is right. I was like, what is this?
Instead of living in a state, and this is why, if I can say COVID-19, if we could look at the blessing. Because with COVID, people, your job may be taken away. certain liberties and things are taken away. And if you can, and I'm not downplaying that that's not, you know, people need to be able to have money to work and to function and to do things. But I think what you're saying or speaking of, or what you said, that whatever exhibit it was, is that we are taught in this mind state to work and get a result, but we're not taught how to really be as beings and live and be happy. Nobody's telling you be happy, live and be happy, because that being happy don't bring you money. You know what I'm saying? Being happy might not bring. And also,
I think we're in a state where that. I mean, again, if I go back to my great grandma, who I knew, Grandma Mag. I don't know that happy was her goal either. Like, I think they were just living more I think that is a very our generation, we've made it to a certain state, we've made it to a certain place where we can consider happiness. Or I think they were just more like everybody I look at down my line, they were very grateful, for whatever.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Very, very grateful. Like, so they took, I remember being in the church as a young person, as just coming up, and the prayers always being the same, thanking the Lord for waking me up this morning, starting me on my way, clothed and in my right mind, with food on my table. Like, they were so grateful for things, and that might have been because what was possible was more limited.
Right.
Or it also could be wisdom, like, because I can see how that is what brings contentment, right?
But and maybe when I think about happy, it's not like things that make us happy. Being grateful,
can
give you that happy. You know what I'm saying? When you say thank you.
I remember they would say a reasonable portion of health and strength. Like, as I get older and remember what the testimony service, like, isn't that amazing? Not being like, why is my back hurting? But I'm thankful for a reasonable portion of health and strength, because they could see, right, that everybody didn't even have that.
When I think, I'm thinking about like our parents and things. It's it's just different stages of time. So what was happy, what would be success for them, for us, is going to be different. Like I said, I remember my grandmother saying, "You just wanted to be a teacher or a nurse." Like, that was successful. For us, it's like, well.
So you got out of there, and you said you can't. Oh, so we stopped at your with your mom, and then you said you got out of the place, the facility, and then you were on medicine, but you were also doing healthy living.
Okay, so when I did, so I was in that facility, and like I said, the medicine helped me. It was some of the best sleep I ever got, which was probably partially what I needed.
Yeah, lack of sleep is definitely a problem.
And I think sleep for mental health, wellness. If you're an adult and you feel guilty about taking a nap, don't. Sleep, I feel like, is one of the, taking that nap, taking that time.
For your immune system, for your memory.
Especially during this time, to be healthy.
Yeah.
I think this is the thing with COVID. If it taught us anything, to slow down and not, that getting up and going to work. I noticed a complete difference between, because I would have to get up at like 5:30. It would still be out dark. I was walking the dog, that fast pace. Having to kind of slow down, good. And so I think people feel guilty because who some artists will say, I won't sleep until I die, or I won't, you work, I'm working when everybody else is asleep. And I say,
virtue traps. That's another virtue trap, right?
Taking a nap is one of the healthiest mental wellness things you can do for yourself. Okay.
Yeah, because guess what I'm gonna do right after this? Guess what I'm gonna do right after this?
Mental wellness thing. It's to get some rest. And I know that's what delayed when I went as a single mom and with a toddler and things. And I think whatever drugs they gave me, I was able to sleep so good that I was very thankful for that rest. I just remember being in the bed and like thankful. And I had to get up and go to group, and that was quite an experience. Girl, it was like almost being in one of those movies where you see all the different characters when they have those, like, I was like, what? And I did feel like, I was like, okay, even if I felt like I was going a little mad or what, I was like, still, somebody come get me out of here.
Right, like you kind of understood, like,
the difference.
You know what, Cat
Like,
Williams had a
I'm in a space, but I'm not that.
Cat Williams did a thing in his comedy where he, I guess, when he got caught with that gun at the airport, they took him to
Mark Lawrence. Yes.
No. Cat Williams. Cat Williams. He got caught got caught with a gun or something at the airport, and he said they took him to an institution.
Yeah.
And he was like, I might have thought I was crazy.
No, yeah, that's how I felt. I want to be careful using that word. That's what.
Yeah, the word is very charged.
If I thought I was something, whatever I thought I was.
Because I have visited people in there who don't think there's anything odd about being in there. And I do think that that's how you know that is a necessary place for them at that time to get the treatment that they need.
I was like, okay, well, what do I need to do? And, you know, I remember all my exits. There was a woman who came in there, honey. She ain't had, you know, she was screaming, and I was like, Dad, come.
But you know what? I also remember people who seemed, I remember one woman who just was very, it was so, you know, it's terrible, but like kind of as an artist, you really kind of see like these different people. One woman was just terribly like if you just think of your inside as shattered, she was soft.
Yeah, I had a guy like that because he did not want me to leave. I remember this one young man. I could just say he was very depressed. He was very sad. But he was the sweetest guy.
This woman was so sweet.
Yeah,
she was so nice.
Sweet. And when he found out I was leaving, because he would come sit next to me every day, he would just want to talk, like me and him would talk and stuff. And when I was about to leave, he was so sad. He was so sad. He was. Now some of them in there, it was very colorful. That's what I want to use.
Yeah, one guy was very interesting. But then there was a woman who seemed totally fine. Like I remember she was like, I would go downstairs, she's like, can you get me some M&Ms? I was like, I absolutely can. And I never saw her seem in any way, like I would have, there's no way I could guess why she would be in there, because she seemed like, you know, just really standard. There was not a lot of, you know, deviation in her behavior. But then, you know, you certainly.
But I think that's the thing for us too. So like, if you feel like I'm not that colorful person, that's the word I'll use.
Right.
That nothing's going on. I would have just took it as I'm being emotional, which is what I think I told you. I called myself being emotional. I kept crying. I wouldn't have took it as, oh, hell no. Like, my sister took it as, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
My sister seen me have moments before, but this, when she saw this, she knew, oh, hell no.
Right.
I remember, like, she shut everybody down, made all the arrangements, and where I would have just taken it, probably my ex would have just taken, she tripping, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Which is what we do a lot at the time.
Or even like other people, it's like, well, he just don't want to do better. I mean, I hear that a lot back. He know better, he just don't. It's like where I'm from, I think there is a lot of just complete denial.
Or they're lazy.
Oh, yes,
you know, lazy. I had the thing, Jillian, where, you know, I felt bad. I knew something was off. I'm like, man, I'm extremely fatigued all the time. And sometimes, like, who are these people who just get up and they want to go? Because I had to share that with my doctor. I was like, I want to be in my bed. And I knew something was wrong. I was like, nobody would ever know that. Because, like, a lot of times people are like, oh, Saadiqa, you're so whatever.
Yeah. Like, no, I think I had those periods, too. It's just that, like, I had to get up to go whatever, to work. Or I had, you know, and it might be
effort, right?
Oh, yeah, it was a lot of effort.
That's what I'm saying. And I was like, I don't feel like.
But because I was able to actually get up, I think nobody would think that was a problem, even though it probably, in retrospect, was a problem.
But when you feel like, so you wouldn't think like, there was a period in time, Jillian, me getting out to go to somebody's birthday or being in somebody's baby shower. I had to talk to my therapist about that. I said, this is an effort.
Girl, when my kids left the house, the only reason, and I'm not exaggerating at all, that I would leave the house in a day was to walk that dog. And to walk the dog was effort. I was just like,
right, and I knew the difference because I used to be that person. I'm like, I'm ready to, hey, what's happening? What's going on? And I was like, what is going on that I feel like, even if somebody asks me to do something, I'm irritated or, like, this is such an effort to get out and even take a walk. Like,
for sure.
Such an effort. I was super tired, and I'll be honest, it worked wonders. So
after all of that, so then after
I came
that,
out the facility. Well, before I left, before I could leave, I remember they had to make an appointment for me. They had to say, I had to be on this medication, and I had to see a psychiatrist. So they made an appointment for me before I left.
Yeah, that's typical.
That I had to. I don't remember like wanting to hurt. I don't remember anything like wanting to hurt myself or anything like that. But I felt like they were so on it for some reason. I don't know. Like I said, part of it was a blur.
Yeah.
But whatever my sister shared with them, because I know she may have done a lot of the talking. It was like I was required to take these medication bottles when I left, and also that I had to follow up seeing a therapist, and I had to be in therapy, and I did.
And I think that's standard. If you end up on a 72-hour hold, I don't think they can just be like, "You're all right." Don't. Yeah. I think they gotta set up a plan for you post.
Yeah. So that I remember that, and then I remember going to a therapist after that, and it was cool.
And then you were like,
I like this therapist.
You're still in your late 20s. You're still in Chicago at that point.
I'm still in 20s, still in my Chicago, but then I'm still going through stuff with my son's father and just trying to figure out life and being an actress and all these other things.
And then now with COVID, you actually started this workshop this summer that is, now was it your mom's?
Yes. So on the south side of Chicago for many years, my mom, so out of my mom, I think part of some of the things that she was going through was that she wasn't, my mom was an actress, a singer. My mom was singing in nightclubs. My mom was an acting major at Bradley University in Peoria. So my mother was a straight up artist. Like, that's what she loved. Like, she was taking us to musicals and all that stuff. So after a while, when we got a little bit older, she decided to do a performing arts. It was mostly acting on Saturdays. You would go to my mom's program on Saturdays, all the kids like on the South Shore area, and she had like a whole bunch of kids, like they would come and take my mom's acting program. Mm-hmm. And we would put on these plays, churches would open up to her, places in the community would open up to her and let us put these plays on in the South Shore area. And then during the summertime, she extended it. She had a program called the Summer Youth Camp for Performing Arts. Her company was called In Good Company. But in the summertime, she had it where the kids could come and they can do acting, they can do music, they could do dance, and I think they even did like art. And this was really, really big. Like she would have like a lot of kids, and they would come to the Summer Youth Camp for the Performing Arts. So I always had in my notebook, one of my things to do was to revive that in the spirit of my mother. Like, and I moving here, one of the first jobs and the job that I've always had since I've been an actress and doing this was being a substitute teacher. And doing substitute teaching.
So you've been teaching for how long now?
Probably almost like 17 years. Like I've worked with kids. And I was always hired during the summer, even in Chicago, to be the summer arts program instructor or come in to do a show with kids in specific programs.
I know, and you were working out in Malibu with kids for a couple summers here on different.
That was a little different. I was working with kids, but that was more of a active camp.
Mm-hmm.
In Chicago, I was actually able to do like where I was the theater instructor, or I was the creative director to do their show for their summer program. Like I always kind of came in and took that position.
And so now what are you doing with your mom's In Good Company?
So during COVID, I said, well, I kind of don't have an excuse, and the kids don't have any. I don't know that they have anything to do. They can't go to camp and be in person. So I was like, just do it. Like, just do it. The kids don't have really anything to do. This way, you can kind of open it up to kids everywhere. Like, you could be kids in Atlanta.
Now it's online. It's virtual.
Yeah, it's virtual. Have it online, and it's something for the kids to do, and it's something that you've always wanted to do, and let's just see how this goes, and in the spirit of your mother. And what helps is that because people are like, how you can get the kids, you know, these kids and this and that. What helped, honestly, was the spirit of my mom. So when I put it on Facebook, and people who knew who my mom was, or even some people who were in my mom's camp, were like, oh, I put my kid in that, because they remember my mom. They remember what it was in Chicago, or they referred somebody who had kids now, or whatever. So, so that was very therapeutic. That's been very therapeutic and beautiful for me as well, to be able to do this. And this is what I'm talking about. I wake up every day. I love teaching the kids. I don't, you know, all my schools asked me to always become a teacher, and I actually had an offer to become a teacher and have a position. And I kind of had to turn it down when we talk about happiness and wellness and things, because I had a position. They were like, if you do this, you know, you'll have a job position at our school. And I have to admit, like, I took over a position, and it was stable, and the checks were good. And you know, it just seems like, okay, and I don't mind teaching. I just personally don't like to teach subjects. Like, I can do it. For some reason, I'm gifted at it, but it's not really what I want to do.
How do you feel about the kids in COVID and going back to school?
Oh, I don't
do you think they're going to go back, or how do you think it's going to be?
LAUSD is not, and I didn't think they were going to go back. LAUSD is a very big school district.
And it's a lot of, I remember you telling me how many kids were in your class.
I'm like, even if you do this thing where you split it up, my school, the school I'm at, it's a lot. It's almost like when I went to high school. It's a big campus.
What do you mean? Is it high school? It's not high school?
It's middle school.
I see, okay.
But the campus is so big, like, it's a lot of kids. And in one of my classes, I have 42 kids.
Well, and that's also crazy, right? I think this is also a great period.
School setting.
And because the kids are coming to school, right, with mental health issues, sleeping, tired, hungry.
Girl, that's a whole nother podcast.
We should do that one day, actually, because I think that people don't understand, one, what teachers are dealing with, one, what kids are dealing with. I mean, you know, I get safety and police, but when you look at the $6 billion budget of the New York Police Department, or like, you know, our $4 billion, and like, we aren't investing in anything to help these kids.
If you invest in education and people's mental wellness, you won't have a reason for that many. You won't have that many.
But you know what? To believe that, you got to believe that it's not inherent, that it is systemic, right? So that's the difference. Is it inherent in these people that they're going to have these problems, or is there a system that is creating a problem within communities? And I think if you think it's a system, you have
about 10 podcasts.
And I mean, it's just a lot. That is trauma every day. Like, we have watched a lot of murders on TV recently, and that's a lot.
Yeah, my son, he told me my mental. He's like, Mom, just my mental. He's like, can we just, like, he's watching some silly things or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? That's cool. That's fine.
Yeah, you have to do that's self-care.
I'm like, go watch some comedies.
Even me, like, I walk around my neighborhood, which is a very nice neighborhood. You know what I mean? But even I was like, you know, I should make sure I have my mace. Now I'm like, I need to make sure my pepper spray is always with me. You know, we had that incident on Ventura Boulevard where the guy pulls out a rifle on Ventura Boulevard yelling racial slurs on Ventura Boulevard in Sherman Oaks.
Yeah, I think during this time is very, you know, what you're doing and what we can do to protect our mental, because we don't have control. We don't have control over COVID. We don't have control over, you know, we can watch the news and we can rant and rave about what people are going to do and this and this and that. There is just some things we are, even in our personal lives, if something hits or finance, you know, sometimes we don't have control over that. What we can control is our responses and being okay with my responses. So if it's I'm okay, like my C says, I don't, you know what? Hey, I don't want to watch.
Yeah.
You know, when they see us right now, like for my mental.
I know. I watch someone when they see us, and I want to see the rest. But especially when you're an artist, stuff hits you.
It hits you different. And that's why it took me a long time.
Yeah, I haven't.
Sit down and watch it because I know this is not just gonna be like I'm just watching this. It's gonna, and I have a son.
It's like
Chappelle. I had just came off of a play about our sons, and then I had just came out of a play saying "Say Her Name." I just came off of 2 plays like that, and I was like, I can't do this. I just personally couldn't do it right now. It was just a lot. And
I hate the conversations I have to have with my son, and I often question if I'm even having good conversations. Like, should I say this or should I not? I don't want to make him paranoid, but I don't want him to get but I don't want him to get too comfortable.
Like he has to go out. That's what I'm like. I want to have these conversations, but I don't want him to feel like I can't enjoy life. Like
yeah, but I don't want him to be too comfortable. But I don't want him to be careful. I want him to be careful at a protest, but then I don't want him not to protest and just take everything for it. It's like sometimes I just have to say nothing and let him be. Yeah, because I'm like, I don't.
Because I think they'll also fear, like, so when he said that, I mean, I was like, Masi, I don't want you to be, it was still light out. I was like, I don't want you to be fearful. Okay, you're going to be okay. I think he's okay in the neighborhood. But then I was like, if he does, something just for now, as a family, we can walk at night together, go walk the dog.
And also, so stress for them and stress as moms. It's like, even though my child is older, Masi's older, but just that stress of like, every time I think of Trayvon's mother or Aubrey's mother, or it's like, but you don't want
the other young man, Elijah. That's one of my favorite names.
Elijah or Stephen Clark, or is it Stephen Clark, the one just it's and you can't parent out of fear like that. But boy, like I don't know, my heart just
I don't know. But when you think of that as a young Black man, and them watching that and seeing that in their mental state, they want to live life.
That little kid that just got signed, I don't know who signed him, Warner Brothers, somebody. He made a song called "I Want to Live." That's so deep. He's like 12 and made a song called "I Want to Live." It's like, it is impossible to understate the stress that you don't even know you're under, because part of this is just living, and you've just learned to incorporate it, right?
That for us, there's just stress. There's just things that come up, just part of life. Like,
right. I'm not sure how much more Black people are being affected by COVID in terms of like, when you are living marginalized, it's like when you used to losing a job and having to get another one, when you used to finances being a little bit on edge. You know what I'm saying? It's like the freak out that I see happening on Wall Street, I don't necessarily see happening in this Facebook circle.
Well, but we're resilient. We are resilient
and used to different things. Yeah.
We've had to do that, right? We had to take food scraps and make them something delicious. You know what I'm saying? We've had to watch. Can you imagine having to watch your baby? You know what I'm saying? And still say you got to get to work.
And and you got to keep moving. And I do think
you got to keep going.
This is a time where I feel like, just collectively, I feel like some of that is coming to the surface. Some of that stuff that I never even thought about.
If we as a Black people, and this is okay, part of the protest was just to step out and to just fucking cry, just to release.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that would be a powerful point. If we could just all go out and hold each other's hands and just allow each other to just freaking cry.
And just,
I understand and it's still almost, I say that protest, because we are tough, we are resilient. But man.
Well, and to be able though to just exclaim and then have the world hear that this matters, even though so many things you have seen makes it seem like it doesn't. I think the world exclaiming it was so affirmative. It made those emotions start to come up to say, this was this was bullshit what I've had to be doing. Like, yeah, it was so normal. I didn't think I was doing it, but this is not right. Like, the younger people feel like this is not right. Right, but once you...
said,
yeah.
As a human being, this should not be honestly a thing. Okay? I should be able to get up. I should be able to work. I should be able to play. I should be able to go walk in the park. I should be able to enjoy the sun. I should be able to go swimming.
My son should be able to make a mistake and go forward. And you know what I mean? It's like, I was even thinking about how even the profiling that goes on with these young men. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe you get caught up in whatever at 19, and so whatever. But now you're 20. It's like, oh, maybe you went to jail for 6 months. No, that's a life sentence. You got that on your record for life. It's gonna affect your job.
And then when that happens to them, right? You're a mom. I know how I felt. That's why I was like, I can't, it's very hard. Saadiqa had to shut down the Twitter and the Instagram because if I'm watching this about somebody else's son, that mess is hard for me. Yeah. It's hard.
That's crazy.
I don't know.
It's crazy. I mean, So
I think we do ourselves a service. And I think we have to learn to go to somebody beyond just our friends or our family who we're seeking advice and help from. Because so I had a friend call me this week. She's calling me crying. In her car, I think I broke my foot. As her friend, I'm not gonna say come to my house and I'm gonna help you with your foot. I don't know how to fix your foot.
Right.
I don't have those qualifications. You're in a pain like I don't understand, and I'm not gonna tell you come to my house, girl.
I got a splint. I got some Ace Band-Aid wraps.
I got some Band-Aids. As her friend, I'm gonna stay on the phone with you, and I'm gonna say get your butt to the emergency room. I'm saying that to say I think when it comes to emotional things, we think just calling my girlfriend. Yeah. Right. I think just calling my girlfriend or expecting my family member to be able to fix that, or just going to church. Right. And being able to fix that. I'm not going to go to church with a broken leg, my leg bleeding, and say, Jesus. Right. Jesus hopefully gave you the wherewithal to say, okay, pray on it, and then go take your butt to the emergency room. Well, we don't think like that in terms of mental health.
No, we don't.
And I think people still, I'm going to be honest, I think they depend on their friend or family member or mom when they're having that pain. Not that you shouldn't be able to reach out and talk to those people. Absolutely. Not that you shouldn't be able to reach out to your church and reach out to your spirituals. Absolutely. Yeah. But you have, like I said, when my friend called me with the broken, I cannot help. I'm not qualified. And I'm not going to say, girl, Jesus. She probably, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to say, go to the emergency. I'm going to talk you through it. But go you know what?
Well, let me just say this, access is another thing, right? Because it's very easy to go to the emergency room for a foot. It is much more difficult to go to the emergency room and say, I really need some therapy. Like a lot of it,
therapy. And maybe I haven't had that experience because I've never found it.
First of all, we live in California, right? So you got a lot of sliding scale places. You got a lot of places that help. But even SAG Plan 2 insurance doesn't cover mental health. It does not cover therapy.
Not seen as.
So they're not. Yeah. So it's not like a lot.
It doesn't have the same weight. Like if I have cancer or.
Right. Like they're gonna swallow you up into a program and get you somewhere, treatment. But that's not what a lot of mental health people go into the ER, stay for that 72 hours, even if they're not stable and they don't have a secure place to go, they go right back on the street until they end up in jail or something. And that's where a lot of people end up getting their mental health treatments.
And then, like I said, I was blessed to have somebody in my family. This is what they do. So, but the people who don't want, there are people with those, they don't want the help. They don't want to take the medication.
But even for the people who I think want to talk to people who live in different areas that are not as progressive or, you know, don't have, I mean, California embraced Obamacare, so everybody here is insured. Where I'm from, in South Carolina, everybody's not insured.
Okay.
When my brother fell out of that tree, that's a long story that I'm not going to get into right now, but my brother fell out of the tree. It's not funny. It's not funny at all. My brother fell out of the tree. It was really awful. He shattered his pelvis and his ankles. And, you know, of course, had to go to the hospital and have surgeries and stuff. And they were like, well, who's this insurance? And, you know, he was an independent contractor. And I was like, well, can we sign him up for I was like, what's your health insurance here? And they looking at me like, I'm crazy. Like, I'm like, well, what are we going to do when he gets out of the hospital? He clearly needs long-term care. And they were like, well, we can give you a list and you can call to see if I mean, there's nothing for a lot of states. It's stunning, you know, but there's nothing unless you are actually technically labeled disabled. They don't even have short-term disability. You got to be disabled for a year or longer to be able to get any sort of benefits like that if you're not a senior or a child, which is crazy.
And this is a whole nother, like I said, that's probably a whole nother podcast too.
Yeah.
The things that bring on this stress for our mental state.
Yeah, but just
like
to
you're
help.
not functioning in a society. Like when you're paying people what you're paying them and then telling them rent is this, you're mental. When you're telling people to get up, work 12-hour days, this, and it's
when you're arguing, even the Democrats, when you're arguing for $15 minimum wage, and the average apartment is $2,000. I mean, I don't know what it is all over the country.
So that's not my mental state is supposed to be okay as a person who's getting up 4 o'clock. I see people in my neighborhood, they up out their doors at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm gone all day. Then I have to come back, take care of my kids and family. And then for an apartment, I might not be able, I'm scraping to afford. Mental, that's stress.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have emotions.
Yeah.
It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be angry.
And it's
to release all of those things.
But it's also okay to have a hard time doing it, and it's something that you can work through.
It's something that you can work through.
Yeah, because I still am not
and it's nothing to be ashamed.
No.
The shame that's on it.
Wherever you
nothing
are.
To be ashamed of. Like I said, I was gonna share. You're talking to a person who wanted to take herself. You know, who tried. I didn't share that part of it. Who tried to take herself off the planet. I went to the hospital, and they had to stick the thing down my mouth in the charcoal, whatever that. And the doctor leaned over me. He's like, I don't know if this was professional, but I remember a bit. But he said, don't ever do that dumb shit again.
Wow.
And I didn't take it. I can be an unprofessional.
Right.
I took it as him really. He looked at me because I was young at the time. And
that was before or after your mama?
This was before. This was before. And I remember they had to put that down my mouth, and they had
something to make you throw up or something?
Huh?
Something to make you throw up or something?
Yeah, so because I took some pills, and they had to pump my stomach, and they put this charcoal stuff down, right? And I was kind of young, and he was like, he just leaned in while he's like, don't you ever do that dumb shit again. And I just remember him look like I will never, like this was, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think people feel like that. I think people get to a place where maybe they don't want to do that. They just feel, I'm tired. I feel like that, like I'm tired. I don't want to take myself off the planet, but I'm also just exhausted. I don't know which way to move. You feel stuck. You feel like that. And so for those people to call a hotline, do what you got to do, but know that your life is valuable and precious and you're needed on the planet. So don't ever do that stupid shit like the doctor told me. But if you feel that, don't feel bad for feeling that too. Like I said, I felt that way.
But reach out because you are valuable.
Reach out.
And you are important.
Because I felt
and just as I am so happy that Saadiqa is here and in my life, thank God for her doctor who pumped her stomach and told her not to do that dumb shit again, and that she's done all the work that she needs to do to not do that dumb shit again. Whether that was therapy.
And to realize that my life, like
Black Lives Matter.
The people you affect, and that my life is, look, let me tell you something. God was the universe. I will get spiritual and said, hey, here's a you. Here's a you that I'm going to bless the planet with. My brother put up a post. I blessed it with the mountains, the trees, the birds, and the seas and everything. And then said, and all of that, I'm about to bless it with you. So we have things to do and things to be. And if we have a tough time, hey, like, we're human. We're all going. I wish I could say it was going to be perfect and unicorns and rainbows. It's not, but we're human. And you find yourself, like I said, I have Jillian, and I have my friend Keena, and I have my sister, and you find a good circle that value. And when you feel like you can't value you, then you get around some people who, like I said, when people stop and say, you know, her name is Saadiqa, you get around some people say, no. No shit. Like, when you don't have you have to have that circle that says we have you.
Yes, and you're right. I'll definitely put some hotlines below. I think it's so good to know that whatever you were going through then, it seems so big. You know what I mean? Years later.
It's what I was making in my mind, even the dark things that were coming about who I think I was, or what I wasn't getting, or what I was sad about. That we will have in that moment. It's gonna feel like this is never gonna end. This is what it is, and it's not. Like, you have so much, and even from that moment, I have not shared that with a lot of people.
I know. I don't think
the people who were there know that happened. That's something I did.
Yeah.
So knowing that,
and I was telling your sister, I met a couple of people I talked to recently, which does not happen normally, told me that they have had someone in their lives that committed suicide during these last couple of months. So I think that this COVID is just exacerbating everything. I appreciate your honesty and your courage and your bravery for sharing that, and for letting people know that whatever is going on, it did not come to stay. It will pass. No matter what it feels like. No matter what it feels like. The first short I ever wrote was about this. Was about a girl had a friend who committed suicide. And thank you so much, because I am determined to break the stigma over this.
It's not the easiest thing to share or talk about, because you might feel like I don't feel that now. I'm gonna be honest, or like I'm running a camp. Like, what will people think about? Like, you know, that happened when I was a little bit younger, but I don't want people to feel like if they feel that there's nowhere they can turn, or to feel bad, like, and then that's a double whammy. Like, you feel bad for thinking, like, you're putting all this on yourself.
Pressure on yourself.
All this pressure on yourself. And I think our mind is such a powerful place. It's such a powerful space between here that whatever's coming in here, you said it's not here to stay. It
will pass. There were times even raising the kids, I was like, there was times raising the kids, I had like $4. And you have to feed 2 children and yourself, or $4. You know what I'm saying? Scraping together change in college. Putting 75 cents in the tank. That sounds crazy to people. I saw somewhere on social media that they were like, average parent gives their child, I don't know, it was some tens of thousands of dollars towards a house. Like the Black community, by and large, don't know nothing about what. Like, I was like, what? What's that? You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, the struggle is real, and it seemed overwhelming, and oftentimes you don't even understand like how this is going to end, how you're going to get through this situation, but you get through this situation, and you have to know you're going to get through this situation. Like, I promise you'll get through the situation. I promise you will get through the situation, whatever it is. Like, just give it another day, give it another week. I promise.
I think that's a powerful thing to say. Let me just get us another day. I had to do that. It wasn't after that time, like, I was just perfectly like, okay, the next day I was like, you know, after the doctor told me that, it was like, hey, okay, I feel super. No, it wasn't like that.
Right.
It's just
Just give it another day. Just give it another day.
If you know that I am valuable, if you really put in your mindset, I'm valuable, I'm supposed to be here. If you got to tell yourself that, when that dark time comes, or you feel like it's something horrible that you did, nobody will forgive or believe, or whatever the case may be, you don't put your thoughts in the hands of just man. That's what I'm gonna just say. Okay? So when you're thinking like what will people think? What will this do? You don't put your thoughts and your heart and soul in just the hands of man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be very honest. Because man, we're a little fickle. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You can't just lie it there. So you have to, one thing, the good thing about a therapist is that the therapist doesn't know, most time they don't know you. They're not going to judge you.
You don't have to.
The safest place, they don't have no judgment.
Right. But I do know friends of mine who went to therapy, who went for the first year before they could even drop their own desire to seem perfect or to seem. And so, I think going in, it took my friend a long time, but that's what was one of her particular issues, I think, just feeling like they need to seem a certain way. And as soon as you can drop that and get this is what it is.
Baby, do you want me to lie? Like I have good in me. I got a little bit ugly. I got a little bit dirt. I got some clean. Like we are human beings.
So also, I guess the message is everybody needs to love themselves a little bit more. If you love your neighbor as yourself, then you're gonna need to love yourself a little bit, right?
That's very important because kids, I'm not gonna lie. Like I worked in schools for a long time. Like I would have to check my students. I can't control what you do out there, but in my class, we gave each other compliments. The students I made that mandatory. How would you feel about what he just did? If it was a kid they didn't know, I can't be talking and being mean to each other here. Be kind, be gentle. And then if you do that with yourself, you're going to do that with others.
And the beautiful thing about what you did with those students is you might have been the first person that ever emulated that behavior.
Like anytime you have a class with me, that's how we introduce ourselves, and that's how we start the class. I'm like, well, what do you do? What do you do at? And they all just look at me like, we're not going to do it English? No, we're not. No, what's up?
And you know what? So maybe that's also a great practice for anybody struggling. Maybe write down 5 things that you like about yourself. Or somebody's struggling with even really negative thoughts. Like, if you can muster that energy.
Yeah, what I did, even some thoughts can be very heavy. I know. Like I'm telling y'all, I know. Some thoughts can be so heavy. What we tell ourselves, or the dark things that can come in can be so whatever. So I think even before, how maybe you're doing something preventative so that when that comes up, you're prepared. If you're dealing with a breakup or a dude, I know he left me. I'm not going to say that doesn't hurt or that doesn't feel devastating, but I'm already armed.
Yeah.
And knowing who I am and knowing what I got, and knowing how I was created to be, that if somebody comes in my life and leaves, it's
difficult. And I think when you dwell on something like that, it does become the biggest thing in the world.
Whereas if I didn't have, I was sitting at home not doing nothing, brooding. And then I'm thinking about this dude all day, and then I'm calling my friend to go stalk him and do stupid stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I remember those days.
My kid and my dog are about to make an entrance.
Yes, I know. Girl, I would like to say I love you so much. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you sharing your story. I appreciate your spirit and your light. I thank God that you did not do that dumb shit again and that you have made it here and that we are talking right now.
But I want people to know, you do that dumb shit. You are loved, and you're supposed to be on
and you Saadiqa are loved. I appreciate you. You see how we do? It's like she's like, let me get my tennis racket and knock off some of the stuff that she's saying. I do. Your bravery and your courage. I hope you understand that it is amazing. I know a lot of people, and a very few are willing to really live in their truth and their honesty, and allow, which I believe will allow other people to live in their truth and their honesty. I appreciate your time. Give your son a huge hug for me for letting me keep his mama for all this time. If this proves helpful to people, hopefully this will not be our last conversation.
Yes. And congratulations to you. I'm so proud of you doing this amazing thing for people, even taking part, because I know part of the story, so even taking part of what you've been through and wanting to help others and using this platform to do so, and being creative and resilient during this time, and to watch you and just your personal story as well. This is gonna be good. I'm very proud of you. I'm almost about to tear up because
you stop it. Me too, and I don't be crying.
It'll be a powerful platform.
I hope so. I mean, I just love people. I love our people. I love all people. I love people going through mental health challenges. I feel so deeply for the families and the caregivers. I feel so deeply for people who are estranged. I feel so deeply for people who cannot get the help they need, for people who fall through the cracks. It is all of our loss.
All of us are valuable. We realize we're all connected,
and it is a loss for all of us. Those are all those people you walk by on the street who are homeless or talking to themselves or whatever. Like, those are valuable members of society, and we have failed them. They have not failed themselves. And too often, mental health has been looked at as a personal failing. No, we have failed them. The system has failed them, and we need to make a change. We can do better than what we're doing.
There's a lot that needs to be changed. And if this can be a little seed in the change.
Yeah, so even if this is just a drop in the sea, we have to try to do our part. Because
you're doing that.
Everybody's worth it. Like, everybody's worth it. Everybody's family members worth it. You're worth it. Everybody's watching this is worth it. They're valuable. Your life matters.
Your life is valuable. I love it.
Thank you, Sister Queen. I appreciate you and your time, Saadiqa. All of her Instagram and social media workshop links will be below. And hopefully this is the first of other topics.
Yes, I love this. Yeah, okay. We have to chat again.
All right, honey.
All right.
Have a great one. Bye.